This is the first of two instructional videos covering stop signs. The one following this, we'll have a look at a four-way stop. In this video, we're having a look at a one-way stop, and one would assume that this is the simpler of the two. But as you'll see when we get a little bit further on into the video, we're going to go through a fairly extensive list of why things can go wrong at a stop sign. So never just assume that this is a straightforward scenario, easy to negotiate. There are a host of different variables as to why something can go wrong. In the first animation, what we're having a look at is a vehicle approaching the stop sign, stops, proceeds further, but then fails to take into account a speeding vehicle. Now, this could very likely happen if this is an area that we normally traverse. Then we're used to that stop sign, that stop street. We're used to the speed at which vehicles normally travel down the side roads, and so we assume that that is how much time we normally have. If we do see a vehicle in the vicinity, we see that it's coming along, but we know that we've got enough time to cross the intersection. But now all of a sudden, there's a vehicle speeding a lot more than what is the average for that area, and so we're caught by surprise because we hadn't anticipated that and miscalculate the time that we have to cross the intersection. So don't just assume that things will remain the same. Always be in expectation of things going wrong, a vehicle speeding down the road, and so catching us by surprise. Now, this area that you see over here is actually a satellite image of this particular area. I've taken the GPS coordinates and I've used this as the satellite image in the animation that we saw previously. So we're actually looking at that same area and a similar scenario to what we saw in the animation. So we've got this driver that's approached the stop sign, has stopped now, proceeds across the intersection, but miscalculates the speed of the vehicle entering or approaching from the side. The next animation, what we're having a look at here, is the driver of the green vehicle entering the intersection, stops at the stop sign, sees that there's an oncoming vehicle, and assumes that that vehicle would have seen him, and then proceeds across the intersection. But the point of this animation is never to assume that others will do the right thing. And so in this case here, in the animation, we see there's nothing to block the view of each driver from the other. So this driver could well assume then that the driver of the red vehicle has seen him and proceeds to go across. But that's the point here of this animation. Never assume then that people are going to do the right thing or they've even seen you. And we'll have a look in this list later on as to the reasons why that couldn't be so. And I also have a separate section on the website that deals with not making assumptions. It's the first of the 3 golden rules that I've tried to emphasize throughout the course. And I'll put a link to those golden rules in the description section of the video below. The first of those golden rules is never to assume anything. That's where we make the first fatal mistake out on the roads. Real life clip, just to demonstrate what we've seen in the animation. We see the camera approaching now the intersection, stops at the stop sign and the stop street, an oncoming vehicle, and so the camera had assumed that the driver of this vehicle had seen him because there's nothing to block the visibility, there's nothing to distract you or blind his vision in any way, and so he goes across the intersection only to land up in a collision. So once again, never assume that others will do the right thing. In this next animation, what we have is the driver of the red vehicle approaching the stop sign, but failing to stop. Just progresses across through the intersection, doesn't slow down at all, and so this results in a collision. Just going to stop it at this point. So once again, we can't assume that others will do the right thing. People not stopping at a stop sign is a very common thing. So in fact, it's more of a rare thing that people come to a complete halt or a stop at a stop sign. But for a number of reasons, people may just cross straight through a stop sign without stopping for a host of different reasons. So let's have a look at some of those reasons. And I'm sure that after going through them, you'll probably be able to think of some other reasons in addition to this list that I'm going to give you. And this list I've divided according to driver error and then also problems related to the actual stop sign itself. So let's have a look at driver error. Now we'll see in the animation, or in the real life clip rather, that follows this animation, the first of the reasons that I've got on my list, which is a driver just following others. Now we don't see it in the animation here, but you'll see it in the real life clip, where a driver just follows what the driver ahead of him is doing. So if the driver ahead of him just goes ahead through an intersection, not obeying the stop sign, then the driver behind thinks it's safe for him to do the same and lands up in a collision. So you'll see that in the real life clip to follow. So that could be one reason. Drivers just follow others. They don't obey the actual signs on the road themselves. The second one could be that the driver is just oblivious, not paying attention to his surroundings, is lost in his own thoughts, perhaps daydreaming, and so just crosses over that stop sign without slowing down or coming to a stop. It could be that the driver is distracted in some way, and the biggest culprit in this regard are cell phones. And so never use your cell phone. I do have a separate section on the website that deals with distractions, and first and foremost amongst those are cell phones. I'll give some statistics there, but it just shows how many accidents and deaths are related to cell phone use. So make it a resolve that when you climb in the vehicle, that you're just not going to touch your cell phone at all until you've actually stopped the car and switched off the engine. Don't touch the cell phone. Could be that there's other distractions in the car as well. So aside from the cell phone, maybe changing the station on the radio, adjusting the setting of the air conditioner. Maybe you've dropped something on the floor and you bend down to pick up. And so for that period of time, you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. It could be that the driver's inattentive for a number of reasons as well. Maybe he's got the world on his shoulders, a lot of serious problems that he's facing, and so not paying attention to what's happening around him as his mind's occupied on things. So even though he may see, literally, physically, see things around him, his mind is not perceiving what's happening around him. It could be that there's physical limitations. Now, if you have a look at this side road here, you see that it's at an acute angle to this main lane. And so perhaps the driver of the red vehicle is an older person, and so they've got reduced mobility. They aren't able to turn their neck at the angles necessary in order to see any oncoming vehicles. It could be that the driver has also injured their neck, and so it's painful to turn their neck, and so they can't look to the side. It could be that the driver has reduced visibility or vision, perhaps blinded in one eye, and so the eye that may be blinded is the one where the oncoming vehicle is approaching from. It could be that the driver is hasty, and because of that haste, maybe has a pressing engagement to get to, and so is prepared to take risks. And so because of that haste, doesn't really have the time to check and make sure that there's no approaching vehicles, and so is prepared to take that risk in order to try and make the engagement. It could be that the driver's blinded by the sun. Maybe the sun's at a low angle over the horizon and is shining directly in the driver's eyes, can't see really properly, or that angle of the sun actually glares up the windshield or the windscreen, and so that reduces visibility. It could be that there's an oncoming vehicle who has his headlamps on bright, and so that has the same effect as the sunlight glaring up on the windshield. So it could be for those reasons. Now, with regards to the stop sign itself, there could be also a host of reasons why the stop sign's not that legible. It could be that there's a lot of vegetation surrounding the stop sign. We don't see that in the animation here. It's fairly clear. But there could be a lot of vegetation and trees and branches that are hiding the stop sign to an extent. It could be that there are other signs that are actually hiding the stop sign as well. Maybe somebody's put up an advert on the side of the road here, and so the stop sign's not that legible. It could be that the stop sign has been defaced by graffitis. Somebody's come along and just sprayed over the stop sign, so it's not that legible. The red doesn't stand out, and so because of that, it's maybe a little bit more hidden as well. It could be that there's a larger vehicle, a truck or a bus, that's actually parked on the side of the road here, and because of that, the stop sign is hidden behind that truck or that bus. It could be that the positioning of the stop sign is not quite correct and it's too high. And so it's not within level eyesight of a driver. It could be that the stop sign's maybe way out to the side. And so one doesn't really notice it as you come along because it's way out of the line of sight as well. It could be that the road is maybe curved, and so as a driver is coming along the road, coming around the corner, all of a sudden now he's presented with the stop sign, so doesn't have much time to react or respond because of what that terrain or the road shape actually is like in that area. It could be that the stop sign's displaced. Maybe a driver had come along and ridden over the stop sign, so it's actually laying on the ground over here, so it's not actually in the position it should be. Or it could be that vandals had actually also affected the stop sign, and so the face of the stop sign is not showing at the angle it should be to the driver. Maybe they've twisted it, and so it's either at an angle that's to the side of the driver, so it's not showing face on, or it could even have been damaged and completely taken off the pole. So there's a whole host of reasons as to why either the driver or the stop sign itself doesn't result in the vehicle actually stopping at a stop sign and crossing straight over into the intersection. And so taking all these variables into consideration, you see why I mentioned at the outset, it's not always a simple thing to assume that this is going to be a straightforward scenario that we presented with. Always be an expectation of something going wrong. Let's have a look at the real life clip to follow. So there we go. This driver just following the driver ahead of him and not obeying the rules of the road, and this is the end result. Please like, subscribe, and get notified.